to episode 30 of BGCP Disassembled, the official podcast of the Big Classical Comic Page at classicalcomic.page.com, Big Classical Comic Page on Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff. Woo! For some reason, you've got Dan again for like the fourth week in a row. I can only apologise.
Don't say that, because that's exactly the same as me.
Probably the least enthusiastic one possible, but you know what? Nobody else will do it. I'll do it myself.
Don't worry. You've got me.
Chrissy, I think this is your streak. Have you not been on for like 3 weeks now as well, or something?
I think so. So everybody will be sick of it. They'll be clicking off now. They'll be like,
this guy's quality, man.
This guy's just what a shite. Exactly.
He fits right in. He fits in perfect.
He joins the circle. That's the best thing. No, but it's been my pleasure to come back.
It's been good, man. So, listen.
So what's been happening? What's happened the last 2 days? Or week?
What's been happening? Well, there's a James Bond film out, and that would be a good topic if we'd seen it. But I'm seeing it this afternoon, and I don't think you've seen it either, do you?
No, I've not. But I'm pumped for it. I think it'll be good.
We'll maybe do a wee bit of Bond talk, actually. Right, there's a question, right?
Oh, we go.
What is the best Daniel Craig Bond song? You've got the Chris Cornell one for Casino Royale. You've got the Jack White and Alicia Keys one from Quantum of Solace. You've got Adele's Skyfall. You've got Sam Smith Writing on the Wall, and you've got the last one, Billie Eilish.
Do you want an answer to that?
Yeah, just what's your favourite out of those?
Like,
what would you think works best?
I think Skyfall was like a complete James Bond classic. Like it's jumping back to the very beginnings and stuff like that. I thought that was like, I would say that gave me the most chills. I was like, I'm watching like Sean Connery or Pierce Brosnan. I'm like, all right, okay, this is good. Well, the very first Pierce Brosnan, like
the good one,
the good one. Like, the rest are a wee bit questionable. But I think Quantum of Solace was kind of Quantum of Solace. I just put that on side. Let's not talk about that one. But the Casino Royale, I think it's between the two, Skyfall and Casino Royale, which are like, I think Casino Royale was more modern. It was like taking it in a different route, wasn't it? Can't actually remember the song.
Yeah, it's what's his name? It was in Soundgarden that died. Chris Cornell. So it's made a kind of grungy, rocky theme kind of thing.
Aye. What about you?
I'm going to be controversial. My favourite is the Quantum of Solace one.
Oh no! What you did? Well, the song's okay, maybe, but the
movie's garbage. The movie's trash.
Exactly, that's what I was leading.
But the song, Another Way to Die, it's Jack Black and Alicia Keys. Jack White.
Jack Black? I was like, what? No.
He's all like, he's got to shoot the bad guys.
Bringing on Tenacious D on the stage.
No, Jack White.
More mellow.
So it's quite Seven Nation Army White Stripes kind of sounding, and then you've got Alicia Keys who's got a quality voice and all. So I think that song's dynamite, and I really like the fact that movie was made during the writer's strike, which is part of the reason it's not great.
Is that why it's all cut up?
There was parts cut out, and it was kind of, as you say, it's kind of thrown together. And Daniel Craig actually had to write some of the script himself because there was no writers. And on set, he was on set, dressed in his tuxedo, playing Bond, writing the script as they were filming. Like mental, right? And because of that, somebody else was meant to be doing the song as well, and I think they dropped out. I don't know if it was because they realised this film might be shit. They just basically the producers at the last minute just had to find two people that were free. Jack White and Alicia Keys happened to be in the same studio that weekend, and they were like, "Can you do a Bond song in like a week?" And they were like, "Aye, alright." And then they just went, and I think they done it in one take. They just knocked it out, and I do feel like you can hear that in the song. Like it's one of the least smooth Bond songs. It's really rough and kind of. It does sound like it's really unpolished, but I like that. I'm like, because as you say, you're so used to like kind of Skyfall, Shirley Bassey's kind of classic smooth songs. Whereas when you get something that's got a bit of an edge, a bit rough, you're like, "Oh, this is different."
It did perk you up. Like that's why when I with Casino Royale, it was a totally different scene, and I think they were trying to keep that. And then I think when maybe Quantum of Solace didn't really go that well, they were like, shit, we need to go back to the original Bond, get that classic, get them buying in again. and that's why they went back. So I would totally understand where you're coming from.
But the worst one is definitely The Writing on the Wall. I hate that song.
Right in the wall.
Writing on the wall.
Captain, this is the James Bond, mate.
Don't get me wrong, Sam Smith is quality. I think he's really talented, that boy. But I can't get into that song, mate.
You can tell he done that in a week.
That song's trash. Anyway, okay, that's enough Bond talk.
that was all we could say.
We'll talk about the new film next week when we've seen it. But today, we're talking about another big film that came out. It's not actually out in Britain yet. It's not out here, which is bullshit, until the 15th. We need to wait another fortnight. So the Americans got it yesterday. It was out in the 1st over in America. So it is officially out. So I feel like since it's out, even though it's not out here, we can talk about it. But I will say we're going to do major spoilers here. This is going to be a spoiler. This is the biggest thing that happens in the movie, and it doesn't just change Venom, it changes things beyond that. So without giving too much away, if you've not seen Venom 2, probably don't watch this until you have, or unless you're like us, we haven't seen it either, but I don't want to get out spoilers. So unless you're in that mindset, I would go and watch something else, or skip to. There'll be timestamps on the bar at the bottom, and you can click to the news segment of the podcast where we'll have done the Venom talks. You know what I mean? We can skip past the spoilers if you fancy. So last warning, right? Spoilers, right?
Spoilers. Click off now. Click off.
Do you know what? I'm going to have a wee. I'll edit in a wee like Carnage head here for when spoilers are happening. Right? So see when you see that head, go away. Right?
Go away.
But see if he's gone, you're all good. Right?
You're safe.
That's the rule.
That's good. That's
okay. I should also then probably note down some timestamps as we go. So on that note, all that bullshit said, the end scene of Venom 2, There Be Carnage, again, spoilers, final warning.
Mm-hmm.
They bring Venom into the MCU. They do it in a way that is quite bizarre, quite odd. I don't really understand it, why they did it this way.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they explain it better later, because at the minute it makes no fucking sense.
No.
But they did it sort of. So I wrote an article last night. The scene, if you want to see the scene, it is on YouTube. Shitty camera quality version, so it's up to yourself if you want to watch it like that. If you want to wait for the actual good copy, but yes, the scene in question is this reveal. So the credits roll, right? The film ends, right? He beats Carnage, I guess, right? I don't know I think he kills Carnage. Who cares, right? Who gives a shit, really? So that happens, right?
I know, exactly.
The bullshit sequel happens, right? And then it ends. And then credits come up, right? Movie's done. And then obviously Marvel got a post-credit scene. So Tom Hardy wakes up in his bed and he's gubbed because he's just fought the big red thing, right? And he's like, oh, mate, that was some night. And he's like, here, I'm just going to watch the telly. So he sticks on the telly, right? And it's some like Spanish novella or something that's on the telly. And then he's talking to Venom, and Venom's like, all right, big man, that was mental, wasn't it? And he's like, aye, mate, that was crazy.
I was too much.
And he goes, listen, fam, I'm pure like an alien and all that, right? And I can do all this mad shit. Tom Hardy. I'm paraphrasing by this. This isn't the script. This isn't what Andy Serkis wrote in the script. But it's like, I'm giving you the basics, right? He's like, aye, mate, I can do some mad shit because I'm an alien in that. And he's like, oof, you can do mad shit like an alien? He's like, aye, mate, you want to see what mad shit I can do as an alien? And he's like, aye, go for it, big man. He's like, right, sound. So the room starts like spinning and everything starts shaking and it goes all weird. The lights are flickering on and off. It's like, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, Tom Hardy wakes up again, and it's no nighttime anymore; it's daytime, and he's in a totally different gaff.
Beijing, it's like a pure,
totally different gaff. He's in a different bed, and I think maybe wearing different clothes.
I think he's in somebody's room.
Well, he is. So he's like, maybe what's going on? So he hits the telly on, and the telly's changed channel. There's a different channel now, and what's on the telly is J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson doing the report that we seen at the end of Far From Home, basically being like, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. He killed
got that.
Mysterio. Blah blah blah. Right, all that shit. Right? He's a menace. And it's just like, what? Who? Peter? What? Who? Where am I?
Exactly. What the fuck's going on?
That's like, he's like, oh mate, the space cakes were strong. So, so he sits up, right, and he's like, mate, what's going on? And then of course, the changes out of Venom, right? Venom turns up. He's like, the way that Venom does, right? And then, not only is that report on the telly, there's a shot of Spider-Man without his mask on, and it is Tom Holland. He's wearing the suit for Far From Home, the red and black, for the end of Far From Home. He's not got his mask on, and it looks like he's in New York. And Venom goes up to the telly, and then Peter looks kind of towards the camera, and Venom pure licks the telly where he says this. He's like, and I think he says something like, I'm going to get you Spider-Man, or some, I don't know, some generic villain bullshit. He says something anyway.
But like, it's like the Venom character wasn't really always against him.
Yes, this is one of my issues. So, yes, that is the reveal, right? Basically, Venom's now in the MCU. Don't really know how, but he is, right? And it looks like he's going to be up with Spider-Man, right, with Tom Holland. Now, right, first of all, we'll go through my assumptions of what I think this implies, right? Okay. And then we'll go through why it's terrible. So
I'll have a rebuttal.
So, right, first of all, I think what you're saying about him being a villain, right, I think they're either going to play it off as because of what Doctor Strange does in the No Way Home trailer, when he makes everybody forget, that maybe resets Eddie's mind to being a villain or something, or Venom, I don't know, right? They might try and shoehorn it in that way, right? Or Venom does think he's a good guy, because Venom does eat murderers, that's what he does. He does kill murderers. So if he's seen a news report saying that Spider-Man's a murderer, he's probably like, right, let's go and get this guy, let's go and kill this guy. But the problem with that is, I can see that wearing thin. You can't keep that up through a whole movie. That's like, that. I didn't come up with this. I think this is the Weekly Planet that always say this. But they all say, see if a plot hole or like a plot thread like this can be solved by a post-it note, like just stick a post-it note on their computer screen, then it's bullshit. Which is this. It's got, like all Peter, it's like a conversation. All Peter has to say is, listen, I didn't kill that guy, he framed me. And Venom's like, right, sound. Like that's, you know what I mean? That's just conflict solved. It's the same in Batman v Superman. Like, see Batman v Superman, if it was just like, I'm always called Martha, no. Film's done. Like, exactly. We would have saved all the buildings we just knocked down and all that. Anyway.
But like that begs the question: that is it going to be because of the new Spider-Man movie, the new Doctor Strange movie? Is it because of that? Like, is it just an effect like Green Goblin, Green Goblin, or something like that? Or is it nothing?
That's my other assumption, right? I don't think there's been speculation since this scene's came out that he's going to turn up in the next Spider-Man and No Way Home. I don't see that. I think there's already enough going on in that movie as it is. We've already got a Sinister Six, basically, right? We don't need Venom at all. I reckon, and also, it doesn't really make sense for Venom just to turn up in this new fucking reality that's totally different, and just first things first, let's go and kill Spider-Man. That doesn't make sense. Like, I reckon he'll need a bit of time to be like, what's going on, where am I? Like Tom Hardy, Eddie Brockville, do you know what I mean? And then eventually he'll go and, do you know what I mean? I don't see it happening right away. So I reckon No Way Home will happen, right? He'll fight the Sinister Six and all that, right? And then in Venom 3, I think that'll be where we'll see Tom.
What do you think? Tom. Jake Spider-Man's going to be in Venom 3. It's not going to be another Spider-Man.
No, I don't see it being. I think they'll leave. I think Jared said this the last week or the week before. Apparently, they're doing a trilogy of trilogies with Tom Holland. They're doing 3 movies that are all kind of semi-connected with the same director. And then I don't know if they're going to maybe leave him for a while and let him grow up a wee bit, and then do another trilogy, and then do another trilogy. So basically 9 Spider-Man films in total, but like spread out a few years. Each trilogy spread out a few years.
Also, apart. Like he's grown up a wee bit, so he's like,
yeah. This is just a rumor. That might be bullshit, but that's the rumor of what their plan is with Tom Holland.
Would that mean that he would be the longest like Marvel character in the role?
Well, that's the thing. I do assume now that they know, like that's the thing. When they started it, they didn't know how long it was going to go on, so they cast kind of older actors like kind of Downey Jr. and Ed Norton was Hulk and blah blah blah. Whereas now I think they know this thing's going to last another 40 years probably. So let's get an actor that's like in his 20s and just keep him for years. Like I think that's their kind of thinking. I think that's why they went so young with Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of opposite with Venom. Like
Tom
Hardy's not that.
That's a weird thing. Like in the comic, obviously Peter and Eddie Brock are roughly the same age, whereas here they're like 20 years apart, which is
exactly.
Well, I'll get into that. That's my part of my reason why this is a bullshit twist, right?
Okay,
anyway, we'll get there. I don't see. No, I think they'll leave Spider-Man for a while. I think for the next maybe 5-6 years, he'll be kind of like now, like, they only made 3 Iron Man movies, but Tony Stark was in, like, 9-10 MCU movies. I think that'll be Spider-Man. I don't think there'll be a bunch more Spider-Man films, but I think he'll turn up and, you'll
see him.
The next Doctor Strange, you'll probably be in that, and blah, 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 right? He'll turn up. Tom Holland's basically is going to be all right? He's going to...
Don't worry, man. He'll be fine.
And he'll turn up. I think he'll turn up in Venom 3, and then that's when they'll fight, and then probably become pals at the end, and then be like, we'll kill each other. Either that, and he'll just kill him. I don't know. Maybe we'll just put one of his things in the face. What a dumb ending that was. Anyway, so that's the reveal, and that's what I think. That's just my guess of how it's going to go, right, in the future. Now, right, my first issue, right, with this. Sorry, Chris, I'll let you actually have your 2 cents. What do you think of this twist? What did you, when you, because I told you about this yesterday and I showed you the clips and all that. What did you think? Thoughts on it.
The first thoughts, I was excited because, as a Spider-Man fan, you'll want to see these characters interact, but I thought it was a cheap way to kind of do it. It was like, all right, okay, you saw him on a TV screen, big wow, all right. And like in the first movie, the Venom. So that's what's making me think, all right, he's not in the Venom universe, because in the first movie there was a big rocket into space, a big palazzo happened there. Yeah. Nobody was around except him, and obviously they'd have seen the amount of shit happened in that movie, like the news coverage and everything, and nobody took any suspicion on like big black symbiote running about, So that's what's making me think it's going to be something to do with a multi-universe thing. So I'm kind of okay with it, but I'm still like, it was a cheap shot, just shoving them in there.
I see what you're saying. I totally think that's something else as well about how, like, I don't think Venom will be in No Way Home. I think Tom Hardy's, where he came from, right, the universe he originally came from, where the first Venom film set and all that. I don't think there is superheroes in that universe, because, as you're saying, see if something was happening like that, a big rocket, somebody would turn up. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. Hawkeye, what's going on here?
What's going on?
You know what I mean? It wouldn't just happen like that. So... I think he's came from somewhere where none of these people actually exist, or if they do exist, are no superheroes. And then he's jumped across. So I think that's going to take him a minute to be like, hold on a minute.
What's going on here?
Think of all the crazy shit's happened in the MCU, like aliens and the snap, and he's going to, like, somebody's going to sit him down and be like listen, some weird shit's happened in the last 10 years, do you know what I mean? So,
I mean, like Ant-Man, the guy who just gives him
did you get him to come and be captain? Exactly.
Get me up to date, mate.
That's the kind of right. My first issue with it, right? I think it's total crap, right? And my first issue with it, we already know that Tom Holland Spider-Man isn't getting his own Norman Osborn. He's not getting his own Doc Ock. He's not getting his own Electro. They're all getting put across through other movies where they were established separately, right? We know that through the No Way Home trailer. Now you're telling me he's not even getting his own Eddie Brock. He's not getting his own Venom. It is starting to become like, this guy is kind of Spider-Man just because of the suit he's wearing, and he's not really got a lot of the emotional kind of backstory that
the character has.
That you need. That you need to invest in the character. I don't know.
It's like a weird kind of, they've chopped him up saying, all right, this is not his storyline, he's just walking into all these things. He doesn't know these people.
It does make me feel a bit sorry for, like, Tom Holland in this version of the character, because it's kind of like, well, all these other shitty movies, like the Andrew Garfield ones, they got the time to be like,
They got the they got the time to go to different characters, like really major characters,
Aye,
like
and they Gwen
Rhino.
Stacy and they all that, aye.
Aye, and
Whereas
it's
this
like
one, it does kind of just feel like, I mean, you're just shoehorned into Civil War, and then see how the whole multiverse thing we're starting, it's all happening in your film. Like, it does feel like it's just kind of all being shoved on him, and it's
it's just
like,
been
I know
pushed on him.
Loki's kind of like described some of it in the Loki TV show, but I don't know, it seems like Marvel are like, right, we've already had Spider-Man. Like, if you want to see Uncle Ben die, go and watch the Sam Raimi one.
Sam Raimi.
But this version of Spider-Man, he's just going to be our multiverse guy. That's kind of what it feels like. Like, we've done 2 movies already with him, where like he fought Vulture and he fought Mysterio. From now on, he's just going to be the multiverse guy. Which I'm hoping, like we spoke about this before, right? We spoke about this in the episode we talked about No Way Home that I linked below.
Mm-hmm.
Where we kind of said, like, where's this going? Where's this going to end? Like, how if we introduce multiverse, you kind of need to keep doing it forever. Like, you need to, how do you resolve the multiverse? Like, you can't just close it again. Like,
Nah.
So there is a part of me that's kind of like, well, if they're doing a trilogies for Spider-Man, hopefully the multiverse stuff that Spider-Man's kind of dealing with will be resolved by the next trilogy. I don't want to see another trilogy based like on with Spider-Man as a multiverse guy. Do you know what I mean? I'm okay. Like I'd be okay with it if it was like the first 2 movies are kind of straight up Spider-Man films. With the second one can add hints in multiverse with Mysterio, and then this one obviously is kind of full on multiverse film, and then like Doctor Strange 2 and all the rest of it. It's all going to be in probably Venom 3. It's all going to be multiverse shit, and then I don't know how they're going to like wrap it up. But I hope the next set of films is just Spider-Man in New York fighting villains. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've not really had that with Tom Holland yet.
No, he's not been a friendly neighbourhood Spider-Man as he said he wanted to be.
And I just, well, that's the thing. I know but I'm also kind of like, well, how do you go back? Because it's not me seeing that. That's what I want to see, right? But Marvel have already made this character so kind of epic in scale, and he's dealing with all this trans-dimensional shit. It's like, well, how do you now just make him
a normal
Spider-Man?
kid,
It would kind of feel like a step back in a sense, even though it's what I want to see. It would kind of feel like a step back after all this crazy space shit, and it's kind of like, well, that's what I'm saying on the last episode we talked about it on the Way Home episode. I was saying like they've kind of wrote themselves into a corner, because they can't go backwards now. So I don't know. I don't know. I do have a faith in the Marvel writers. They're intelligent, and they're no. But that's my other problem with this scene that we'll get to in a wee sec, actually, is how like unintelligent I think this is. Like, after being so clever with the multiverse, I feel like this is just such a lazy thing. But anyway, we'll get to that. So my first issue basically is Tom Holland hasn't got any Zane villains, and this is another one to add to that list. And I find that kind of bullshit. I think the way they could solve it, and I don't really know if I would like this either, because it seems like a waste of Tom Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they have Tom Hardy and like Venom, right? So Spider-Man and turns up in Venom 3, right? And they fight or they become mates or whatever happens, right?
Yeah.
And then Eddie Brock dies. This Eddie Brock dies.
Mm-hmm.
The suit goes on to Spider-Man, and then we've got Black Suit Spider-Man for a while, right? They do that storyline that they bolstered up in Spider-Man 3, right? They do that, and then the suit, once Peter Parker gets rid of the suit, it goes on to this, the MCU's universe, Eddie Brock, and he becomes proper Venom with the spider on his chest, and the... Do you know what I mean? That's
a good point. Yeah, because
that's the only way I can kind of see how they can solve it. And then it's like, and then if you do that, do you cast Eddie Brock? Do you cast Tom Hardy as this universe's Eddie Brock, or do you go younger, as you're saying? Do you go with somebody that's the same age as Tom Holland? Like, how do you then need to have that question as well? And it's just kind of,
it's going to be hard, because it's like, it's all like, I think it's Venom. They've got Sony's got them in it, so it'll be all that stupid contract stuff where they're saying, well, you need to use this actor. Well, and they're like, we don't like. I think Tom Hardy's a producer in this, so like,
yeah,
I don't think he'll want to get killed off.
Yeah. So no, I totally agree. Like, Sony does own the character, right? But I also do think them doing this is sort of them waving the white flag. Sony waving the white flag, because they've been talking for the last couple of years, since the first Venom. We're going to do Morbius, we're going to do all these other kind of characters that we own that they don't, and we're going to build our own universe, and it's going to be great. And if these people are like, no, you're not, mate, it's going to be shite.
It's going to be
So this, to me, showing that they're just kind of basically submitting to Marvel, being like, here you go, you can have all the other characters and we'll just take the money. Like, it's kind of like them getting up and waving the white flag and just being like, right, we can't even really do our own universe, so just have Venom. And then in Morbius, they're probably going to. That's the other question. Where is Morbius going to be set? Is that going to be set in the Sonyverse? Is that going to be set in the MCU? Is that going to be some trans-dimensional stuff as well? Like, it's pure opens a can of worms, man.
I think, see, to be honest, I think they're actually going away from the original movies universe, right? This could be like a really shot in the dark, but see if Doctor Strange opens up a new world,
Yeah.
and like say Tom Hardy or Tom Holland goes into that new world, gets killed off, and there's a Spider-Man in that world, that's where you're going to be left, and that's where it's going to start, and then that's when you could maybe get a different Iron Man and things like that, and then it just evolves. Like what you were saying, it's 40-year trajectory.
Do you know
just
something?
Spinning that and then starting again.
I kind of feel like that a wee bit now. I feel like I feel like I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place, right? Because I write for a comic book website, so obviously I still want, and we do a podcast, so obviously I still want content to talk about. But I kind of wish the end game was the end. I kind of wish, like, it kind of was at the end of certain stories, but I kind of wish it just ended it there. And I'm not saying just did a reboot right away, just like here's a new Iron Man. Like, no, if they'd done it as you're saying, like in universe, set up a multiverse and took us to another dimension, and then started again, I think that could have worked. Because then it'd be like, right, we've seen that dimension story, and now we're kind of clean, we're starting again. But then there's also a part of me that's like, well, Marvel does have a lot more characters that
they've not expanded
touched. Yeah. Like there's the new Avengers, and they seem to be kind of setting up the young Avengers. Like there's Riri Williams, obviously, Ironheart, and then there's the wee guy in Iron Man 3 that's probably maybe going to be a new Iron Man. And then we've also got we've got Kate Bishop in the new Hawkeye series. We've got female Loki, so she could come in and. Do you know what I mean? There's so many like kind of things they're introducing, and then Black Widow's sister. Like there's so many kind of other substitute characters that you're like, well, you could carry it forward with them.
See, that's one thing. It could potentially
Falcon.
There might be doing because they've not even touched on. They've kept it hush hush about X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
maybe they're trying to make them the Avengers kind of thing. You know what I mean? Of the next series. You know, it was always like Tony Stark, Captain America.
Aye.
It might be now X-Men and Fantastic Four with all these other characters. They're
the heart of it. Characters. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's like they've got those massive flagship names like X-Men, and they've not touched them yet.
Yeah,
and as you said, like maybe it might be just like the same thing with like the suit with Eddie Brock. It goes into a universe, and then that's his Eddie Brock. It goes into a universe, and that's Wolverine just in a pub or something. You know?
Yeah.
Like, all right, okay, that's when it sets up. But it's. I mean, I do feel what you're saying though. I feel like now since Endgame, you're just kind of seeing the beginnings of something, and you're like, all right, okay.
Well, I've been honestly on every Marvel property other than Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi was the first one I've seen since Endgame that I was like, yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Everything else, I've kind of been tepid on, like lukewarm. Like Black Widow was fine. I really enjoyed WandaVision. I did really enjoy WandaVision. But Loki, Falcon Winter Soldier, Black Widow, I've kind of been like, they're fine.
Yeah.
Like,
they're not. You don't need to watch them.
But
you can
they
watch
feel
them.
like side stories. They feel like side stories. And Shang-Chi was the kind of first one to be like, oh no, this is worth wanting to see. This is like a blockbuster. This is Marvel. This is, do you know what I mean? Aye. And that honestly, that kind of surprised me with Shang-Chi. I was kind of I was looking forward to it because I like kind of kung fu movies and all that. But there was a wee part of me that was like, this is probably just going to be another kind of, as you're saying, one you don't need to see. But then when I seen that, I was actually really impressed and really blown away. Review, I'll link below on the website.
Do you think it's anything to do because it was through the pandemic that it was you were watching in your house?
Aye, I do.
Jake, like if they made those WandaVision into a movie, maybe cut some episodes out because some of it was filler in some of the series.
The story kind of was quite slow, yeah. I totally think. I think Marvel kind of lucked out in the way that they'd done Endgame right before the pandemic, and then they were already planning on doing the Disney Plus stuff. And then I think they still had, obviously, they had movies planned and Disney Plus stuff planned. And then obviously when the pandemic hit, they postponed all the movies and they just focused on the Disney Plus. But it did work out in their favour, I think, because like you're saying, it meant that even though you were in your gaff, you couldn't go anywhere, they were still putting out content. Even if it wasn't, as I'm saying, it wasn't quite as good, quite up to the same standard. And I don't really feel as invested. At least they were still making it. Do you know what I mean?
It was something like to me as well. Like even though there were characters, like the characters you knew,
Yeah.
I felt like it was like you're watching an old TV show for comfort. I
Yeah.
was like, all right, okay, I'm watching these characters just because I know them. It's
What?
no, I don't want to dive into something new yet.
Aye. And well, that's the thing as well. Like when you go back, I feel like when you go back and watch the Marvel movies now, if you like binge watch them all, it's kind of like a TV show, just with really long
Aye.
episodes. Like that is
Aye.
because it's all connected and it all leads up. It's just kind of like one big massive TV show. So I know what you're saying. But right, back onto Venom. My next issue with this twist, as you mentioned earlier, this version of Venom is way more of an anti-hero than it's just a straight up villain. So, I mean, as I was saying, they're probably
What's up with that?
what's up with that?
What's up with that, man?
They're probably going to justify it on the thing he's seen on the Daily Bugle, right? But that kind of does that not kind of just make Eddie Brock one of these guys that watches Alex Jones, and then because Alex Jones says it was because of the water, they like stop drinking water. Like that makes Venom one of these like anti-vax idiots. It's like surely he's better than that. Like, I don't know. I feel like it makes this character really dumb. If he just sees this dumb conspiracy news report and is like, "Yes, I'm going to go and kill Spider-Man."
He's a baddie.
It's like you're just a pure neckbeard, just a pure incel. What's going on? I don't know. It's just.
I love that reference to Alex Jones.
That's in this universe. That's what
the Daily Bugle is.
Which, to be fair, I do find it interesting because obviously in the Venom movie you've seen in the trailers for this new one, the Daily Bugle is a newspaper.
Yeah.
Aye. So.
Oh yeah, I in Venom that they actually are. Does he no write for them?
Yeah. In the first one, he's like a reporter. Yeah.
Aye, that's a good point. So no, so it is a complete. It must be something that then, because it's a completely different brand. Like the Daily Bugle is like the proper one for the comics.
Aye.
On the one with Jameson on it, it's a
website.
It's a website. So that confirms maybe more. Like it's not. He's just been picked up and shoved in.
Yeah.
It does feel like that actually, just picked up and shoved in. That what you're saying. It's just not. There's not thought about this at all. They're just like flinging money at them.
And then, well, that's the thing. Like, obviously, we've got we mentioned the X-Men a minute ago. To me, the biggest travesty of this whole thing is that Tom Hardy can't be Wolverine in the MCU.
Oh,
that is my biggest gutter. Like,
that would have been a good.
I mean, no, unless they're like, oh, it's a multiverse. So in this universe, Logan looks like Tom Hardy, but in that universe, it's Eddie Brock. Like, but I don't like that would fly.
No, that didn't work.
Then again, there has been certain actors that have been in more than one MCU film playing a different character, but that's by the by. It's been like side characters. It's never been like a main character. So I don't know. I think it's a bit of waste. I think I would have much rather have just seen this Venom movie come out, be shit, make no money, and
be shit. I think
not be shit, because I don't want any movie to be shit. But you know what I mean. Like, I wish it would just been unsuccessful at the box office anyway, so that Sony again would wave the white flag, not in the film, but behind the scenes, and just be like, right,
take the character.
We can't do this. Take the character. And then, do you know what Marvel did? They gave Tom Hardy a phone and say, "Listen, I know you just lost your job as Venom, but we want you as Wolverine." There you go. Do you know what
I mean? You solved it.
Whereas this way, it's just like also it rules that out, and it means that it now means that you're saying that Eddie Brock's 20 years older than Peter Parker. It means that we've got a Venom in this universe that's not. He's not traditional Venom with the spider on his chest. He's weird white veiny Venom. Yeah. He is comedic Venom. For some reason, they've made him like a goofy, funny character in these movies. He can go between dimensions, apparently, which they've not really. That's not in any of the comics. Like, do you know what I mean? There's so many things that it's like, well, now you've brought this character in, it's like, why bring in this shit version of the character? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Like, see, like, it's one thing that I remember playing with the PS1 game. Like, Venom was a goofy character, but he was goofy in the sense that he was, like, dangerously goofy.
He was a psychotic villain.
He's not like, but he was like kind of he had a conscience that he just killed baddies or something like that. But it's like, you are right, like he's not Venom, because he's not got the Venom is it went on to Spider-Man first.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't go to Eddie Brock first, and Eddie Brock.
And this isn't Eddie Brock either, because he's from San Francisco, and he's a
It's not
writer
New York,
photographer.
exactly.
He's like, this isn't right either. Like, so I don't know. It's weird, man.
I do think, see, there is something in me thinking, see if they just sold it to Disney and they done their own thing with Tom Holland, it would be brilliant.
Did their own Venom.
And get maybe Tom Hardy in if he would want to.
Aye.
But it's thinking that, all right, okay, let's just see what happens. I really hope it, like, because it has to be like the Venom has to go to Tom Holland and get the spider, and then get back, and then come back to Tom Hardy when he's got the symbol on. I think that makes him Venom. You know, it's not. You know, he's just a big black blob eating people.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like...
Well, that's the thing. I think my last major issue with it is it really takes you out of. I hate anything that takes you out of a movie, and I know that these are at the end of the day, these are superhero movies. Yeah. They're no high cinema. They're dumb.
They're for
laser
fun.
beams, superheroes, people can fly. Like, don't take it too seriously. You're not watching a Scorsese film. Do you know what I mean? Like, you do need to kind of remember that. But at the same time, this twist does take you out of the movie, because it's like, well, one, this is what's the opposite of Chekhov's gun? There's a phrase for it when you just introduce something that we never knew about before.
Oh fuck! Oh,
like, I can't remember what the phrase is, right? But there's
it.
a phrase in screenwriting where they just I'm a MacGuffin, I guess, but it's not even a MacGuffin, because a MacGuffin's still like a Chekhov's, like something that's based around. But anyway, like when they just do this, and they're just like, all of a sudden this character can do this. Like, it would be like turning around in the next Spider-Man film and be like, he can fly now, and just not explaining it. So, I mean, that wouldn't make any sense, but they need to do it for the sake of the story. Do you know what I mean? There's a word for that. It's really annoying me. I can't remember the phrase. But anyway,
it will come to you.
That's what this is. It's like they've just went, right, we need a way to put him in. Venom can go between dimensions now. And it's like nobody went, wait a minute, so what about the first movie where he'd never did that, where he could have done that to get away for the space rocket? And like, so many questions about that. Secondly, there's no basis for this in the comics. That's never been said or done before in the books. So are we just making this up now? And I don't know. I feel like it's just such a, as you're saying earlier, it's such a lazy way to do it.
It
feels so shoehorned and so forced, and it does kind of remind you, like, oh yeah, this is just a studio giving into another studio. It's not. It takes you right out of the movie, I think.
Because like, even see, I'm thinking if it was like Woody Harrelson, and see, even if it was like Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson, I think I got it right. They can't. If they were in the MCU with a bit like a proper studio behind them, proper writing, I think that movie would be amazing. Like it's now just like, you've got the kind of tainted of the first Venom movie. It's kind of, it was like shite. All right, okay, let's see if they can do something with Carnage.
Yeah,
you've got Woody Harrelson there, a brilliant actor.
But they're starting off on the back foot. Yeah,
they're already shot themselves in the foot, and like Carnage is technically a Spider-Man villain as well. He's not really a Venom villain. So Venom's there to help, but like they need Spider-Man to get everything from it, because he's the guy. He's the guy who fights them both, and then Venom joins Spider-Man. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing.
That was always the thing, though. Like when Sony said they were building their own universe, it was like you're building a universe of Spider-Man villains and Spider-Man pixels without Spider-Man. So it never really made any sense.
I think it's worth. I mean, I hope it's good. I mean, the first one I rewatched it recently, and I was like, okay, it's a bit fucking long. Like, you know,
the first Venom.
I was like, this is too long.
Review on the website for that. I'll link that as well.
On you go, the review. But like, this got a 90-minute runtime, so it probably, like, some of the reviews that I did up saying it's a quick movie. So
honestly, and I also think if I spoiled this for folks that haven't seen it, you've probably feeling the same. I don't really give a shit about the movie, especially now that I know this. Like, see that I know that this kind of there's no consequences now for the actual Venom 2, because you know that Eddie just jumps across to the MCU, so it's like, well, nothing really matters that happens in that movie now, because it's in an old dimension. Do you know what I mean?
And he's not going to, like, in the sequel, is he might die with Carnage. Carnage might win. You know, you never know. And then at the end of the sequel,
I've seen another leak scene. I'm pretty sure he kills Carnage at the end, or he kills Cletus Cassidy anyway. I don't know if the symbiote dies, but
does he? Oh, that's
I'm pretty sure Venom bites his head off. I've seen in a clip.
That's absolutely shit. That's a major character,
I,
and you've just
I
killed
just
him. Like,
well, that's the thing. I just don't care. I do agree. The first time I seen it, I was like, they're only using Carnage for one movie. But then you realise, well, this is kind of the last Venom movie in this universe, so it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like,
nah, of
see if
course.
they want to, like 3 movies down the line, they can bring in the MCU's version of Cletus Cassidy. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you've
who
got a point
cares
there.
really?
Aye. So,
Um,
well, at least it's not just that they are just now picking and plotting it. They're no giving a shit now. They're like, okay, this is the last movie. It's going over to you now. Give us loads of money.
well,
Thank you very much.
that's what I was going to say. That is the one positive I think for this. I've been wanting for I don't know the last 5 years. I've been wanting Sony just to say, right, here you go. This is
Aye.
you have better writers, you make better movies, have your characters,
Oh, there you
and
go.
they've no done it. So now that this has happened, even if it's not in the way that I would have chose it to happen, I'm
It's
glad it's
happening.
happened. You know what I mean? At least it's out the way kind of thing, and now we can be like, right, let's actually move on with some decent films.
No, at least like when we're in like 10 years' time, we'll actually watch potentially Venom in the MCU proper one,
Aye,
like a brand new one maybe. So
aye.
that'll be a shock to
And
ourselves.
I think as well, like I'm saying, I do kind of trust the Marvel writers. I think that even though this movie wasn't the best, I don't see. I think I do wonder as well. I'm like, well, who came up with this twist? Was this
So
Disney or was this Sony? Were Sony like, right, we're going to put them in your movie, but we need to like make your movie, so we'll handle it, and then that's why it's like stupid and unexplained,
aye,
or
aye, aye.
is it? Do you know what I mean? I wonder that as well, like the actual behind the scenes kind of agreement and discussion about it. It's like, well, how was this actually thrown together?
Aye,
I
because it's going to be like they've always been in talks. Like so, it's like they've probably might have planned this for a wee while,
hmm,
and we said, okay, we want to get Venom in because it's a major character for Spider Man. So how
aye,
do we get this through? Right, we need to kill your series and then move him
aye.
in somehow. You know.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think the three. That's the kind of thing that kind of annoyed me. I think the three kind of big Spider-Man villains are Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Venom. I like
Aye.
his main kind of three villains. We already knew for the No Way Home trailer that 2 out of 3 of them
Are
are
there?
the Sam Raimi versions and aren't the Tom Holland. So now that you're telling me that there's none of Spider-Man's major villains are actually his villains, or
And
just
actually,
another
there's
version of
other
Spider-Man's
ones.
villains that are, I don't know. It's kind of shit.
You're used and flung in. Used and
Not
abused
unless,
and then
not
flung.
unless I've just thought of something. They've already said, and I think this is a way of Marvel getting around like the shitty design of the lizard and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They've already said that even though, like, obviously Alfred Molina played Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2 and Willem Dafoe played King Goblin in Spider-Man 1, the version in No Way Home isn't the exact version from that movie. It is a
Yeah,
slightly varied version.
very true.
And I think, to be honest, I think the only reason for them saying that is so that they can fix the King Goblin suit, they can sort the lizard design to make him more comic accurate. Do you know what I mean? I think that's why and Electro's now yellow. I think instead of blue. Like they're changing wee things about the characters to kind of improve them. So
Uh-huh.
not unless they also use that excuse to make this a more traditional Venom.
That's
Not
a good.
unless they're like, this isn't the exact when he transferred dimensions, although it's still Tom Hardy and it's still Venom, he's a slightly varied version. He's not the exact same version that we've seen. Not unless to do that, which I could take that. If you take Tom Hardy and make him more comic accurate, then that could be good, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't
I'm
know.
all, I like see Boss. He was the best out of that. For the Venom movie, I thought he was really good. Like the whole situation he was in, the very first one, I was that
Mm,
he's actually a good actor. He's obviously loves what he's doing. Like he's like he must have read this character when he grew up and was like,
aye,
this is a good guy to jump into. So he's got a passion for it, and you can kind of see it because he talks to himself and it's like, oh, that's convincing, you know. So I hope he does he gets justice from it. Like the movie does well, but
yeah,
I hope it's not just a kind of sequel to just fill in the gaps so then he can go into that. Like I hope it's a good movie for him, at least a send off, because like
aye,
it's going to be a kind of weird revelation when he's in there. But you
aye.
never know. Like that's one thing I don't want to see even in the the Spider-Man sequels. It's just like the Doc Ock and all that and King Goblin. They're just in it for 5 minutes and then they're dead.
Mm-hmm,
Like why? like you know,
aye.
these are characters that were had their movies in the 2000s and
Well,
they
that's kind of what I keep thinking. I'm like, right, well, it kind of seems like Disney with these Spider-Man movies are kind of trying to make the best of a bad bunch. Like
Good
the
point.
Tom Hardy Venom movies are obviously kind of shit, right? So they're trying to make the best with a character that's not great.
Not great.
And then you've got Jamie Foxx playing Electro, which nobody liked, and and then the Lizard as well, the Reese Evans Lizard that they took for the first Amazing Spider-Man. It's like it's as if they're trying to make the best of a bad bunch, and it's kind of like, well, why? Why not just like? Because I keep thinking like, oh, this is a bit shit. They're using Tom Hardy as Venom, but I'm like, oh well, they'll make the best of it. But then I'm like, well, they don't have to make the best of it. They're choosing to do this multiverse, so they could just say, no, Venom's a new guy, Eddie Brock's a different actor. Electro's a new guy. Like they don't have to use the old characters, so that's what's weird about it. That's why I'm like, well, they're making the best of a bad situation, but they don't even have to be in that bad situation. They're choosing it. That's weird. I think
that raises a good point with the Lizard. That just triggered a wee thing. See the Green Goblin in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
he's not the Green Goblin. It's Sam Raimi's one. So
yeah.
they've chose not to bring him back, and so they're picking and choosing.
Yeah,
and they are picking the bad. Like they don't want to see that Green Goblin from Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Garbage. Yeah,
exactly. Bring back the fucking good one.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay. So they are just now picking it. That's confirmed.
And that's the thing. Like I'm no slagging. I like Jamie Foxx as an actor.
There you go. That was his name.
I like Jamie Foxx as an actor, and I like who else did I slag that? Reese Evans as an actor. I do like those actors, and I like Tom Hardy as an actor, but I just don't like their versions of these characters. And I'm just kind of like, why are you choosing to bring them back when you don't have to? I just maybe there's a long-term reason for it that we don't know about yet, but at the minute it just seems a bit strange, I think. Anyway. Any last thoughts before we wrap up? Do you think this will work out for the best, or do you wish they didn't do this? Or
see, be honest, I want to see what happens. It's like the same with the Doctor Strange thing. That's going to open up a whole pile of worms, so I don't know what's going to happen. So this might just jump onto that pile, but I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Well, I do think that's the thing. One, it gets fucking Sadak's us talking because we're heavy geeks, right? And two, which is that's what you want as a company. You want people talking about it. And then two, as you're saying, it's interesting that we've had all these kind of twists and reveals before Doctor Strange 2. Like, see when, I don't know, 2 years ago, right, whenever they announced, like, the next slate of movies, and you looked at the titles, and you were like, right, that one's called Multiverse of Madness, so that's going to open the multiverse. But it's like, no, the multiverse is already well and truly open. Like,
exactly.
We've already had Loki, we've got this Venom movie, we've got Spider-Man No Way Home in December, before Doctor Strange. So we've got all these films already opening that kind of worms, so it's like, well, what twists are they going to save for Doctor Strange 2? Do you know what I mean? Are they going to, as you're saying, take it up a notch, do something else again? Or I don't know.
That's one thing that's going to be interesting if they look at to do like split it into TV shows or films. Because if it's a multiverse, I'm expecting two films to come out at least really close to each other, so you can see. Because like it's quite a long period of time if you're just doing it what they used to do, like a year in between. You know, so
well, aye. Well, I wondered that as well, right? Marvel kind of used to be right. You have to have watched, like, to have seen Endgame and understand it. You really had to have seen all the movies. Like, you had to have seen The Dark World, which was a shit one that nobody saw. You had to have seen Guardians. You had to have seen, obviously, Infinity War. Like, you had to have seen all these other films for that to really have its impact. Ant-Man, blah, 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 right? So they've already kind of had, and same with No Way Home, I guess, you have to have seen, not only do you have to have seen all the MCU movies, but you also have to have seen the Sam Raimi movies, the Mark Webb movies, like the Garfield and the Maguire.
To kind of get what the hell is going on.
They are asking a lot for the people that follow them. And I do think the next step is them just, pardon me, I think they already mentioned, I don't know if it was Feige or somebody said something when they were kicking off Disney Plus. Somebody said something like, these won't be kind of required viewing, these will be additional stories that you don't have, like, you can still go and see the next movie without watching these shows. Whereas I can see them totally going back on that and being like, no, you have to have seen all our movies, all the Sam Raimi movies, and all the TV shows to understand what's going on in the next movie. Which I do think is asking quite a lot, because then it's like, well, as much as I enjoy watching this stuff, it's like, oh, I have to watch this before I go and see this movie. That kind of makes it a bit, not a chore, but it just makes it a bit.
It takes a bit of the joy out of it. A requirement is a good word, because you're like, oh, right, okay, I need. It's like now it's a system now. It's like sequential, right? Okay, I need to watch this now.
Homework and watch that.
I It's like James Bond. You don't really need to watch Bring It Back to the
Yeah,
First stuff.
yeah.
You don't need to watch
Well,
the sequel to
I
understand.
was. That's the thing. Last night. I was going to watch Spectre because I'm going to see No Time to Die, and I was like, Spectre's shit. I don't need to watch like, it's Bond, and Spectre is bad. Because then I was like, oh, I can watch Skyfall, and I'm like, well, there's no point watching Skyfall because that's
It's in
2
the
movies
middle.
back. So then
Exactly.
I'm like, nah, mate, I'll just patch it. So,
But I'm worried in the sense that they're going to do more TV shows and maybe less movies to explain the plots because I'm not really a fan of like I've not even watched the What If stuff, so it's like
what I would prefer would be if they were to be like, right, you can watch. This would probably be quite a lot to ask of the writers, right? But but it's Marvel, so and they've got
they've
millions
got
of dollars.
millions, they've got millions of
They're
writers.
meant to be the best in the world, so they should be up to the task. I think you should have it the case where like you can watch the movies and follow it, but if you want extra information and extra kind of emotional impact and stuff, then you go and watch the TV shows, and then the folk are kind of rewarded for watching the TV shows. Cause then it's like you can maybe put a couple of references in. You're like, oh, I get that. Whereas people that haven't seen the TV show will not get that. I think that's how you do it. I think instead of being like you have to have watched all these to even make sense of this, it's a bit far. I think you kind of reward the people that have followed it as closely and watched other TV shows, but you don't alienate the people that haven't.
Yeah,
I think that's a balance.
You're in like an inside joke kind of thing, like you know what's going on, but like it's no harm to anyone else.
Yeah.
But that's
it's like when you're at a night out with your pals and one of your pals is telling a story, and if you weren't there, it's just a really funny story. But if you were there, it's a really funny story, and it's like, I remember that. Like, aye, do you know what I mean? That's a wee extra, like, aye, that's what it should be like.
But like that's one thing is like I lost what I was going to say there, but it's kind of connected to. Oh fuck! I've lost it.
Probably my bad. Sorry, but yeah, I've talked shit.
No, it doesn't matter. I'll come back to me like the title, the writing thing that you couldn't think of.
We'll be in the news segment. It will be like, oh,
aye. There you
go. I'm going to note down the time for recording because that is us. Done. Unless you've got anything else to say, is that us out of spoilers?
So it was spoilers.
Right.
I'll try no say it.
Try not bring up. Right, okay. So
keep it hush hush.
Carnage's face will be gone now, and you will be free to watch the rest of this episode without having Venom 2 spoiled. Right. Let's get into the news. What happened this week?
So did a lot happen? Like it's quite.
Meh. So first off, another week. Another Metal Gear Solid remake rumour. We don't seem to have a week without one of these at this point. I've kind of, even as I'm pure mad Metal Gear geek, I've kind of get fed up with this. I seen this during the week or yesterday or something, and I didn't even report on it because I'm like, you know what? It's another week and another story. However, that said, this does sound like one of the more solid ones because it comes from Gamatsu. I'll give them their credit and I'll link that below. Gamatsu are quite a respected name in the industry, so. Yes, there's a quote here at the top of the article that says Konami is developing revivals of its Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill franchises, according to a VGC report citing unnamed publishing sources. The first of these revivals will reportedly be a new Castlevania game, described as a reimagining of the series and development internally at Konami Japan. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater will be getting a full remake. It is intended to be in development over at the Singapore-based studio Virtuos, while Konami also intends to release remastered versions, not remakes, of the first two Metal Gear Solid games ahead of the remake of the third game. Eurogamer has also corroborated this report, noting that Konami has mulled over a Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake for some time, with one earlier being canned. The cutscenes from it get used for a Metal Gear Solid 3 Pachinko machine. Reports finally from VGC say that the Silent Hill games are in development at various external development studios, one of which was outsourced to a prominent Japanese developer earlier this year. Prominent Japanese developer, Hideo Kojima. Yeah, then back in February, it's just saying as tracks corroborate this stuff. Back in February, the Silent Hill composer said that he's working on it again, and blah blah blah. Yeah, like I said, it's another week and it's another
rumour.
However, there was also a rumour, somewhat unrelated, about Mr. Hideo Kojima. I don't know where I opened it. Did I open it on my phone?
Interesting. A good one?
I can't find it. But yeah, the good one.
Yeah, good.
Hideo was apparently working on. Hold on a second, I'll find it.
Because he's...
Quick, because we're rolling.
would it be with Norman Reedus? Is that a new game with him?
Hideo Kojima reportedly developing Silent Hill as a PS5 exclusive. Again, another week, another Kojima Silent Hill rumour. You can go and watch your video on the Blue Box Studios, by the way, Silent Hill rumour. I'll link that below as well.
Well, like, was there no something with Norman Reedus that he was going to go, the guy from Walking Dead? Is he not going to
he
be
was
doing...
in. He was in when right.
Because is he contracted?
I just take it for granted that you're in the loop. Sorry, I should really.
Alright, sorry, I'm not. No, I'm not.
So no, you're all good because a lot of folk watch this will be like, "What's he talking about?" So the whole thing started back in, I think it was late 2015, early 2016.
Right.
Metal Gear Solid 5 came out in September 2015, right? It was an unfinished game, and it was a bit of a disappointment to a lot of Metal Gear fans, including myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then it came out that Hideo Kojima was having a lot of trouble with Konami. They were butting heads, they were falling out. You're a dick, no, you're a dick, no, your boss a dick. A lot of that, right? And then Kojima went, do you know what? I don't need Jews, catches. And they were like, well, you're fired anyway. And he's like, no, I quit. And they're like, no, you're fired. Then, right? So he buggered off. But being Kojima, being basically the Quentin Tarantino of video games, he wasn't going to be without a job for long. No. So Sony chapped his door, and we were like, we're looking for a new... Oh, sorry, I'm talking about my arse. I left out one really important part of that story. Before the fallout with Konami, they decided we're going to reboot Silent Hill. We're going to redo it from scratch. It's going to be first person, proper, shit yourself scary. Hideo Kojima was like, I'll do it as long as I can cast my broski Norman Reedus, and they were like, I sound. So they did that demo PT, which is infamous at this point. Incredible demo, just 2 corridors, and it scared the shit out of everybody, which is terrifying. Such good like writing and pacing. And anyway, so that was a teaser for the planned Silent Hills game. Then the fallout happened. The game never got made. Sad face, right? Cry. And then we went on to the fallout. PlayStation chap the door. Big man, we want you.
Come on in.
I'll come and work for you as long as I can make a game about a postman. It's like heavy, like the rain makes you old, and you're a postman, and you're carrying a baby and stuff. You were like, mate, whatever you say.
Would you come?
You said that to me, you crazy Japanese masterminds. Come on, here's $50 million to make whatever you want. Oh, actually, what? Cheers. I want more studio, right? So he opens his own studio, and he makes this batshit game, Death Stranding, which I kind of enjoyed, but it was kind of divisive. It was a passion project, which I'm not sure the first PS5 exclusive you make should be a passion project, but at the same time, when you're hiring Hideo Kojima, you need to expect weird shit. Do you know what I mean? You're not getting generic army shooter, you're getting even Metal Gear, which is a generic army shooter, is insane with robot arms and nano machines taking over people's minds and like ghosts and vampires, right? So the point is, right, you know what you're getting with. So that was fine. Now, there was then a couple of this year, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I think it was like February, there was a trailer for this game called Abandoned that appeared. It was a first-person survival horror game developed by a new studio that no one had heard of, but it was a PS5 exclusive. And it was like a AAA PS5 exclusive by a developer nobody knows, and nobody knows the guy behind it. And his name is a translation of Kojima. And all this crazy shit. Again, I'll link the article below. It's got evidence for that, right? But there was a lot of rumours that this was actually Silent Hill, and it was now Kojima loves to bullshit people with fake trailers and all that. So, but then again, we've not heard anything about that for months. We were meant to get a trailer for that game Abandoned, and that never came out. So we'll see. So now this latest rumour. Also keep in mind that other rumour I just mentioned. About the game's being revived. Well, this is apparently tied in. Apparently, I don't know how, this is comicbook.com, I don't know how they know that the Japanese developer that was mentioned in that other rumour is apparently Kojima Productions. But that's what they're reporting, that's what they're speculating.
They're speculating, it's not confirmed, they're just saying that?
Based on unconfirmed rumours, one of them.
Right, okay.
So yeah, that's a thing. Something else that also somewhat ties into this is PlayStation have acquired Bluepoint Studios. Bluepoint Studios, if you don't know, did the Demon's Souls remake, and they basically they make incredible remakes. That's what they do. That's kind of their main job, and they're really good at it. They make really good remakes. So yes, there's been rumours for a while. They've always kind of worked closely with Sony, and there was rumours before the PlayStation event that happened a couple of weeks ago, where they dropped a new Wolverine game and all that. Which again, I'll link the recap for that below. Yes, PlayStation have acquired. There was rumours before that they'd acquired Bluepoint, and then it was like, oh no, hush hush, that's not what happened. And then I think a lot of people were expecting the next Bluepoint game to be a Metal Gear remake because they remade Demon's Souls. But now apparently it's been remade somewhere else, but also PlayStation have acquired Bluepoint games, so that could be connected to this.
That could be
Kojima,
kind of
Metal Gear, Silent Hills, Castlevania, something. Yeah, what do you think? Is this, I think this is good news. I mean, there's nothing concrete here, but there's enough different kind of parts, like the fact PlayStation acquired Bluepoint, the fact that there's a rumor about Kojima, there's a rumor about Konami. Something's happening. Like,
could Kojima be working with Bluepoint?
Could be.
So like they could be like he can maybe be running the studio.
I don't know if I see that because he does have his own studio and he is the kind of guy. I think, as much as I like him and I'm not slagging him, I don't think he's a collaborator. I think he's more, this is my vision and I've got a team to make it. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's like a guy
to work
with somebody. I don't really see him as that kind of creator.
Well, based on the work that the Bluepoints do, they basically just work on kind of remastering, maybe. So like the Shadow of the Colossus, Demon's Souls,
which was also a good remake.
So like
they're good at what they do.
Maybe they are going just to do the Metal Gear Solid stuff, but I think they're definite. Maybe they're just doing Metal Gear Solid and leaving Silent Hill to Kojima. And like splitting, and then he can do his own vision because
I would prefer that because again, one of the main reasons that Kojima left Konami was because he was so sick of making Metal Gear. And Konami were like, "Well, that makes money, so make us another one."
Make it,
I was like, I like
it's a money machine.
So, I think Kojima clearly has his own ideas for Silent Hill, which seem really interesting. He also obviously has his own. He's the kind of guy that's probably got about 50 ideas in his notebook that he wants to make that are totally different again. So I think let him do that. Let's see the rest of his career. That's what he should do. He should make his own weird shit and he should do Silent Hill. Do you know what I mean?
Just anything else but do Silent Hill. Do your weird shit, but
I don't agree. As much as I love Metal Gear and I would like to see Kojima going back to it, I don't think that's good kind of creatively. I guess
you're revisiting.
So just leave it as it is. It was a brilliant kind of 4 games. The 5th one wasn't great, but leave it as it is and let him do his own thing. And then, as you're saying, Chris, just let somebody else do Metal Gear, remake Metal Gear. Like it's still a big franchise. It would be daft to never go back to it again. So they obviously still want to go back to it and make some money, but let somebody like Bluepoint do it. They can just remake it.
But even like Bluepoint, that's what they're known for, man. Like they're known for remastering stuff and making it.
Yeah, they don't really change anything.
Better.
They just remake it. Basically, what I always kind of describe Bluepoint games as. See how you remember that game in your head? Like, even though it was in PS2 and you go back to it as shit, you remember it as looking really good and playing really well. That's Bluepoint. That's what they do.
They make real dreams come reality.
They make what was in your head. So I think it's good news. I hope that's how it pans out. We get a new Silent Hill game, hopefully for Kojima, and we get a new.
It's been how long has it been from Silent Hill? Because I've been waiting for that game to come out.
5 years, I think.
Is it 5 years?
I think the demo. I'm not 100%. I think PT first got released in 2016. I want to say.
PT. I think it might have been even earlier than that.
I know for sure that Metal Gear, just off the top of my head, Metal Gear Solid 5 was September 2015. So I think the Fallout happened in like the December with him and Konami.
But PT.
So maybe it was. I mean, it was before that then.
PT was just like a kind of demo, though, wasn't it? Because like the last game was it was like 2010s or something. I don't know. I might be wrong on that.
Oh, you mean the last Silent Hill game?
The last actual game.
Aye. Maybe not. Maybe like 2011 or something. But yeah, it's been a while since the last. Because like Silent Hill got shit. Like the first 2 are incredible. Everything after that wasn't great.
It's a bit shit. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, Kojima brings it back to the number 1 and 2.
PT was released. Oh, I'm totally wrong. You're absolutely right, Chris. It was released on the 12th of August 2014. So it's actually been 7 years.
Jesus.
That's insane.
That's a long fucking time, Kojima.
That is.
Come on. Get your finger at your arse, mate. And fucking make a good game. Oh.
Right, the next piece, we'll move on to the next piece of news. The next piece isn't a massive thing. There was a trailer released for Army of Thieves, which is a prequel to Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead, yeah.
It's based on the Jimmy Safecracker character.
I didn't. I mean, did you watch the Army of the Dead?
Yeah.
We done the podcast about it. It wasn't really great or good, you know.
I didn't love Army of the Dead, but I will say the best part about it, I thought, was this character.
Was it?
He was the part I enjoyed the most. So, cool, him getting his own film. I mean, it's one of the things, you know that, spoilers if you've not seen Army of the Dead, you know that he dies in Army of the Dead.
He's gone.
So, it kind of makes this one like, well, who cares what happens? Because you know he's going to live to the end of this film and he's going to die in Army of the Dead anyway. So, it kind of takes a lot of the...
It takes a lot of the pressure off. Because that is mentioned, that was like the job he's known for. Or like he just done or something. So it's like, alright, okay, so
but
he's going directly.
The trailer looks fun. It looks like a fun heist movie.
Is it by Snyder?
Zack Snyder is a producer, but he's not directing it.
Right,
okay.
Good.
Okay, so the next story. Do you remember an old show called Gamesmaster?
No.
It was in the kind of late 90s and the early 2000s. And it was this really weird
Game
Master.
Master.
A lot of shit in the 90s were weird.
Yeah.
But there was this weird kind of show where every week they would talk about the new games coming out. And it was before the days of like, obviously the internet. So like, see cheat codes and stuff. They would give you like cheat codes for games.
Right, okay. Yep.
And things like that. That was the way. There was a guy that had like a weird metal head that used to kind of like be in the background. And it was really weird.
Wow.
So they're reviving it, they're remaking it.
Right, okay.
They're bringing it back. And the host has been confirmed as... Do you watch Burniston? See how the bald Scottish guy, Robert Florence?
No Burniston. Way. He's the host?
He's the new host, aye.
Wow.
Which I think will be interesting. It's him, an actor called Ty Logan, and a female presenter called Frankie Ward, who you might have seen doing the PC show at E3. She does the PC gaming show for E3. So seems like three decent hosts.
Is he not doing it with his partner Ian?
No.
Ian
Connell. I don't know if he's as much a geek. I think Robert Florence is one that's a pure heavy geek. So no, man, I think it'll be into it. I think he's done some video game stuff before on like YouTube and that, like kind of mini TV shows. So I don't know if this will have the same kind of style as that, but I like to show back in the day. It was this weird cheesy 90s thing, but they're bringing it back with Robert Florence, which I think is interesting.
I don't know how they're going to do it, because if it was primarily like if it was to show cheat codes and stuff, I don't know how that's going to happen. Like if that was a segment of the show, well, like how was that going to happen now?
What I'm a wee bit concerned about, a lot of like video game kind of media now is like esports, and I don't give a shit about esports. So I hope that it's not
a competition kind of thing.
Like I'm not interested in that. I hope it is just like about the industry and kind of take the piss out of developers and talk about new games, and then I think I'll be up for it. But we'll see. But Robert Florence is funny, so
he'll be good. 11. So that's 11. You won't get that if you've not watched Burniston, folks. Sorry.
I'll post that video in the description as well, because it's really yeah. So the next thing, they are apparently, so I reported on the website, I think it was last week. I don't remember mentioning it in the podcast, but they're doing a Twisted Metal TV show. Twisted Metal.
Oh wow! The PS3
racing game with the what's his name, with the flaming skull, the clown.
I only played that on PS3 when it came out. So I'm kind of familiar with it. So they're remaking that.
Yeah. They're making it a TV show. Sony have got their new. Sony are basically trying to do a Disney Plus. They've got their own kind of streaming service, so they're doing different TV shows, and one is Twisted Metal. Anthony Mackie has been cast as the lead, as John Doe.
Wow!
And it's not been said yet who's playing the clown that drives Sweet Tooth. What's the clown called? They get Needles Kane. Needles Kane is the name of the clown, and he drives Sweet Tooth. Don't know who's playing him yet, but Anthony Mackie's the protagonist. Anyway, they are also making a new game. There's a new game in development, Twisted Metal game, by the studio that made Destruction All Stars. See that PS3 game that came out that was kind of like Rocket League? The studio are called Lucid Games, and they have been tasked with making a new Twisted Metal game. So we're getting a new Twisted Metal game and a Twisted Metal TV show.
Wow.
Cool. I'll wait to see how they are. I liked Twisted Metal back in the day. I was never like mad into it. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun on PS1. I remember it was a PS1 game, but yeah.
It's like a game you just go to have a little like an hour laugh kind of thing, or something to take you. It's not a game like you go in for story.
No,
you know, it's not that at all. But at least that's good, because like I think that was a flagship for the PS3 at one point or something like that.
Yeah, it was
when
quite
it
a big deal.
launched. So at least they're still keeping that going, which is good. What's next?
The next major thing is the PS Plus games for this month, which are pretty poor. We've got Mortal Kombat 10, which is like a 5-year-old game, and there's been another Mortal Kombat since then.
I know.
There's a Mortal Kombat XL, which has got all the DLC characters. It's not even that version; it's the original version with just like the base characters. It's shit. The other game's a golf game, Golf 2K21, and the PS5 game is a war game called Hell Let Loose. I don't even know if there's much to say about those games. I think they are pretty shite.
I know the only one that I could make a connection with Mortal Kombat was GTA. GTA 5, they're probably trying to copy what Rockstar's doing, like just to push, like keep re-releasing the game and then keep making online added, like because that game came out in like 2014 maybe, or maybe even later than that, and it's still gone. I think it even got remastered for the new PS5. And like, come on, just make a new bloody GTA. Don't keep doing it. So they're probably, because Mortal Kombat 10 got quite a lot of got quite a lot of good publicity. So I don't want to damage it. But yeah, it's not really.
It's pretty lackluster.
It's pretty shit. What's next?
The last piece of gaming news: Netflix are starting their own game studio, which I think we also spoke about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I think we reported on the website. The first studio they have acquired are called Night School, and they are responsible for Oxenfree, which is a kind of side-scrolling story-based game. So yeah, they're the first Netflix studio that are working with them.
Has Netflix bought them, or are they just collaborating with them?
Yeah, no, Netflix have acquired them. So yeah, they've bought them.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're going all in on it, which is, I think that's the main takeaway here. It's like it's really fascinating to me how you've got Sony, who are obviously primarily a game studio. Okay, they make films as well, but they're most known for like the PlayStation and stuff.
Yeah.
They are now doing their own TV service, like Netflix, and then you've got Netflix, who are obviously known for their TV streaming stuff, that are now doing gaming. So it's interesting how it's as if all the companies are trying to have all the pies. Like, do you know what I mean? Exactly. Or trying to do everything. We'll see. I'm sure that out of all it, like, see out of the Netflix game stuff and out of the Sony TV stuff, some of it will be shit and some of it will be good. Do you know what I mean? So we'll get some good stuff out of this. So that's the kind of main kind of takeaway. I think it's like, well, even if it's not all great, this will lead to something decent, and so will the Sony TV game. Like, even if it's not all brilliant.
Is it going to? Do you think it will be like, because you said they were known for like side scrollers and stuff like that?
I don't know. I did wonder when it was Netflix. I did wonder, will it be like more story based stuff? Like, I don't see them doing like a Call of Duty type.
Yeah, it'll be like Limbo.
Do you know what I mean?
Like,
I think it'll be like you're more kind of not indie, but you're more like basic kind of story based games. That's what I can see them doing, kind of like Telltale maybe.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
That's just a guess. That's just because it's Netflix and obviously it's a TV thing. And then obviously you've already got like Bandersnatch on Netflix, which is kind of like a game where you select options. And then there's a game out I think next week, and it looks really dumb. The Undertaker, the wrestler, The Undertaker, is chasing these three guys through a house trying to kill them, and you have to choose like go left or right, like go in the creepy basement or go up the stair, like all that kind of shit. So Netflix are clearly getting more into their interactive kind of storytelling.
Yeah,
so I guess this is just an extension of that.
Oh, that's good then. Well, at least they're actually moving. They're moving forward because and
not only that, it's more jobs. Like since we're coming out of lockdown and COVID and all that, people are obviously looking for work. So see them more. I know it's like big corporations and you're thinking, oh, more studios and more. But at the same time, it could be more jobs for developers and writers and stuff. So that's good.
Plus, it's going into a completely kind of new territory as well. So you're
Yeah.
like, okay, what can we actually do? Like,
Let's see what they can do.
You pretend to be Kojima at one point. You're like, what can we do? Let's go mid.
Let's do some magic. Right.
Man.
The next, I think that's all the video game news. The next thing is comic related, and this is quite juicy. This happened just after last week's podcast. This happened at the start of the week. I don't know, like giving them credit because I hate Polygon as a website, but they did do a really good article. Polygon did a piece that was like an oral history of the New 52, how the New 52 came about, and how things were behind the scenes, and the discussions that were made, and things that the writers were told and weren't told, and it was quite interesting, and it's a well written piece. Although I don't like Polygon overall, this was a good article, so I'll give them the credit. Mostly the right bullshit, but this was a good one. Whoever wrote this article, you should be working on a better website. But anyway, so I've just pure called out Polygon.
Called out.
But listen, see if you want me as a writer, I'll come and work for you. No. So there was a few kind of different creatives that were involved with this piece. It was Dan Didio, who was a kind of overall overseer of it all. There was Judd Winnick and Paul Cornell, who were all kind of instrumental, but the main juicy comments came from Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder, if you don't know, worked on a lot of... the New 52 he's responsible for that. Basically, it wouldn't have existed without Scott Snyder. The Court of Owls, which is now quite a famous storyline, that was all him. Joker cut his own face off, all that storyline, that was him. Death of the Family, all that stuff.
All the
James
good
Gordon
stuff.
Taking over as Batman. That was also Scott Snyder.
That was a questionable moment.
That was totally different, but it was like the way I've always seen the New 52 is kind of like a side story, like an Elseworlds. It's like, for me, the main, in terms of the comics, the main Batman, the Batman that really matters, is the Batman that started in year one and went through to like Grant Morrison's run, Final Crisis, and all that. That is like the main Batman to me.
Yeah.
So the New 52, it's like, I don't mind him doing different stuff, like Joker ripping his own face off and Gordon being Batman for a while. Like, I don't mind him trying new shit, because I'm like, well, this isn't the main Batman anyway, so they can be a bit more. Even though it is main Batman in terms of, like, if you ask DC, it would have been their main Batman at the time. But in my opinion, that's no like my Batman. My Batman is, you know, kind of the classic Killing Joke, and Killing Joke was only made continuity separately, but that's super DC stuff. No, I'm just looking at my comics. Like, you're kind of like your Hush Batman and your No Man's Land, and that whole kind of arc. That's like the main Batman. Whereas New 52 Batman with the Court of Owls, that's like a separate version. Anyway, I'm getting really like. Aye. So, well, that's it. It's been rebooted since, so they can really say what they want about New 52 now. But that says Scott Snyder probably does still want a job with DC, so I was surprised with how candid he was. Scott Snyder also wrote Black Mirror, which was a Dick Grayson Batman story, which was the best Dick Grayson Batman story. That was incredible. That's the one where James Gordon's son's a serial killer. That was a great book. It was really dark and messed up. And Jock did the art. The art's incredible. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So, yes, this is what Scott Snyder had to say. He spoke about how he was actually having panic attacks, and there was a lot of infighting, and really just was totally honest and upfront, which I found it's rare to see that from somebody that worked for a big company like DC. He came out and say this. So he said that he basically wasn't told that he was in charge of rebooting Batman. He was brought on as a writer for DC. He wrote a few books before that. I think he wrote American Vampire, didn't he? And he wrote a few other kind of independent books and a wee bit for Image and kind of slightly smaller companies. No, the big two anyway. It's smaller companies. Image are a huge company, but you know what I mean? Like, not Marvel or DC, basically.
Yeah.
And then DC hired him as a writer. And as I said, he done Black Mirror, which was a great kind of tail end of the Batman I was talking about earlier, like your kind of mainline Batman. It was the tail end of that just before the reboot. And it was like, here's a young writer that's got a lot of talent. Let's see. He's got a lot of potential. Let's see what he can do. And then, without telling him, DC announced that the new Batman will be rebooted by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. Like without, they didn't tell him that when they hired him. They hired him to, I don't know, work on so many books, I guess. And then they were like, right, you've worked on one book. Your next thing is writing Batman issue 1. Like
Aye,
start
that's
the
it.
character again. And he was like, what? Nobody told me this.
Aye, exactly.
I wish you'd said something when I signed the contract. Like that is, which I do find to be,
So much pressure.
that's cheeky. Like that's very cheeky, Daisy, to do
Aye,
that to somebody. So that was causing me to have panic attacks. And obviously, I mean, it's so much, as you said, it's so much pressure. You're like, think of how like kind of passionate and how kind of toxic some comic book fans are, and here you need to start Batman again, and if you mess up, your career's done. Like it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, you're not going to get any more.
You're
jobs
probably
if
not
you
going to
fuck
work
up.
again if you make a balls of this. You're probably done. Like
Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah, and he basically spoke about the different ideas that people had and the collaboration. He said there was no as much set rules as there was before. So because it was a new version of the character, people had different ideas for what they wanted to do with Batman and what they wanted to do with other DC characters and how it was all going to tie in. So I think he says that was quite intense. The quote is, the sort of fluidity, lack of rules of blueprints led to issues because between different groups there were different ideas of what was DC history. So basically what was canon and what wasn't. So you do something and then you hear from a different group that one of the characters mentioned being in the past wasn't in the past anymore because that wasn't, because we had a new origin. Again, everyone was just working out of love of the story, trying to tell the best tales they possibly can, but it was really difficult without those set rules, which makes sense because it's like, right, well, because in the New 52, some of the old continuity is still canon and some of it isn't. Like the Killing Joke is technically also in New 52. That happened within the New 52 and also in the old continuity, so it is a pure like minefield. Like I can't even understand that when I'm reading it, never mind having to write it. Do you know what I mean?
No, but that's interesting. It's interesting that they say it's chaos back there.
Well, he went on to say the thing that I do wish was different for that time. I wish there was a plan. A lot of it came from the suddenness of the whole idea. I think there was an element of spontaneity to it, which was exciting, and a sense of possibility and a sense of purpose that we were going to make these characters fun and dynamic, but in ways that pushed them forward. But in the long run, I think it hurt us not to have a blueprint that people could follow group to group because it created these silos of creators and editors that were protective of their version of what they were building.
Yeah.
Do you know what this sounds like? This sounds like the Star Wars sequels.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like they started off without any plan for how they were going to end it, and then they were all like, "Shit, what do we do?" Like that's what happened with Star Wars sequels, and that happens a lot, I guess, in kind of a lot of big. But I find it fascinating. These are huge companies. Like Star Wars was also done by Disney. The sequels are done by Disney. DC are a huge company. It's like, how were they ever allowed to start such a pinnacle character like your Star Wars or like your Batman and not have an ending in mind?
Have a plan.
Like, that's insane. Even a guideline. Like that is. If I was like a big CEO of DC or Disney, I'd be like, right, you lot, what's your end game here? What's your plan? Like, I'd want to know what's going on.
Let me see.
Like the fact that they were just allowed to go ham and start writing without having any like end game in mind, it's kind of mental.
But that kind of looks at like how like Kevin Feige is like good with Marvel. You can kind of see like he has a kind of at least roadmap.
Yeah.
DC, if they're doing that with the comics, fucking hell, what they're doing with the movies? You know?
Well, there you go. Look at the best as a DCEU. Like you only need to look at those movies to see that.
Yeah.
And then in terms of infighting, this is quite a blunt thing. I think he said we'd finished the first Batman storyline in the Court of Owls. It was at the printer, and word came down that they weren't sure that they wanted Batman not to be able to solve the mystery of the Owls, whether Lincoln March was his brother. They wanted us to change it to make it so that he definitely solved it. For me, that would have changed the entire story because the point in the story was just the opposite. I remember standing in Target, pushing a cart of paper towels, screaming into the phone, "You go down the hallway and you tear up my damn contract." So, yeah, that was pretty much all he said, but I was like, oh, he was very honest and he was very brave, I think, because to see all that against DC, it's like, oof, mate, you're taking a chance. You might not, like, I know you're a pretty big writer nowadays, but I don't know, I'll go so far. Like, if they want to blacklist you, they'll blacklist you.
I don't know, they're the one who want to talk to him. But at least he's still got a career, he's still going. You know what I mean?
Scott Snyder, as I said, I'm not mad on the New 52, but I do think Scott Snyder's a very talented writer. I enjoy his work. I think he's got a lot to say. And even though New 52 was like 10 years ago now, and at that time I was like, oh, he's like, he was only, I think he was in his late 20s. I was like, he's so young, he can kind of go on to grow so much. I still feel like that. See, now that the new 52 is done, I still feel like he's still got more to tell. He's not like an old burnt out writer that you're like, oh, he's done a new 52 and that's kind of the best thing he'll ever do. I feel like he can still go on to do more. Do you know what I mean? Which is, yeah, I like the guy. It's talented. Next thing. So this blew my mind. I went to see the Many Saints. I went to see the Many Saints of New York last week, and I wrote a review on the website, which again I'll link below. The same man that directed that really good movie also directed Thor 2, Dark World, which I never realised until this week. That blew my tiny mind. Alan Taylor, who he also directed episodes of Sopranos, which again is one of the greatest TV shows ever, also made Thor 2. He has since came out, obviously he's doing this press for the new film for Many Saints in New York, and he was asked about why was Thor 2 shit, basically. And like a lot of directors have been saying recently, he basically said that wasn't the movie I wanted to make. Studios, producers interfered, the studio interfered, they wanted me to do a certain thing I didn't want to do, blah, blah, blah. So he basically said he would love, he also saw the Snyder Cut, and he says basically he would love to get that second chance with the Dark World. He'd love to release another cut that was his version. And I don't know, I'm like, do you know what? If I was you, mate, I'd say that's in the past. I had my chance with Marvel and I did kind of balls it up. But do you know what? I've just made a decent Sopranos movie. I'm going to move on and make good stuff. Like, I don't think going back to an old kind of mess that you made is necessarily the answer.
Yeah, because it's like with David Fincher with Alien, he doesn't want anything to do with Alien 3. But it's like just do that. Like, it's next time you're on your new project, you know how to handle the producers.
But that's that's the thing. Like, Alien 3 is obviously garbage, but without it, we wouldn't have had Seven, we wouldn't have had Fight Club, we wouldn't have had The Social Network, we wouldn't have had Gone Girl, all these brilliant movies that he made after. So,
but that's because he took control of it. Remember, I think that's how he done it. Like, he started his own studio or something like that, and then he was like, right, we are now doing what we want to do. We're not going to abide by anybody's rules. Well, maybe they do, but like,
I think with Thor: The Dark World, I think Alan Taylor was obviously a TV director, and he'd also worked on big shows like Sopranos, worked with HBO and stuff. And then obviously Marvel, looking for like directors with prestige, have went to him. My thing is, I don't know if he should have took the job. I don't know if he was the right guy for the job, and I think that had something to do with it. And I think the fact that we're kind of here now and he's kind of go back to it, I'm just like, move on. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to visit something, especially it was years ago. There's no point now. You know, like it's like a movie it is kind of like significant, but there's no really like I wouldn't go and watch it because the first experience was absolutely rubbish.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I'm not going to go and see. Oh, it might get a wee bit polished, you know.
Well, that's it. Well, I went back. They've done a really good for R3 recently as well, actually. But I went back before Endgame and watched, or was it before? I actually went back before Infinity War and watched all the Marvel movies, including Thor 2. Watched every one. And then, obviously, it was less than a year later that Endgame came out. So, before Endgame, I was like, I'm going to do it again. And I watched the first Iron Man. I get halfway through Iron Man 2, and I was like, I've just watched these. Sack this, I'm just going to watch the good ones. So that's what I did. I just watched Iron Man, Avengers, Civil War. Like, I skipped over, like, Thor 2, and do you know what I mean? Iron Man 3. Like, I just watched these a year ago. I know what happens. I don't need to watch these again. So, Anyway, next thing, the HBO Last of Us TV show is, I think it's finished film, I want to say. And they have released an image from that show. It is just the back of Joe and Ellie. Standing looking out at a field. Also Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. But the thing I think that's most striking about the image, like, there's not that much going on, but I think the thing that's most kind of striking is just how much like the game it looks. In terms of the clothes,
even the
outfits,
the bags.
The backdrop, it looks like a screenshot from the game. So it's like, well, that speaks to how accurate it's hopefully going to be. Hopefully it is going to change it too much. Do you know what I mean? That is going to follow.
Do you think it's going to, like, you know, the game is quite long, but do you think it's going to be like it'll only be like take segments, so maybe it would take like the first couple of missions of the game Or is it like a retelling of the game, or is it going in a different direction?
No, I think it's a retelling of the game. I mean, I can see it being in the game. There's seasons. It's split up into seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it starts in summer, and there's autumn, and then winter, and then spring.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's got 4 seasons in.
Yeah, in the game. So I think in the show they'll do it like say they're doing I don't know how many episodes they're doing, but say they're doing 8, they'll do 2 episodes in summer, 2 episodes in autumn, 2 episodes in winter, 2 episodes in spring. Do you know what I mean? I think that's how they'll split it up. Or maybe if they're doing 12 episodes, then it'll be 3 in each season, kind of thing, like something like that. Aye.
Is it like a one and done deal? Like it's just a one season?
Well, no, I don't think it's a limited series. I don't think they've said yet for sure, and I can see them doing. Obviously, there's a second game, which I didn't enjoy. Again, review on the website. You can check that out. But I hope if they do that, they don't keep accurate because I hated that second game. So I hope they change everything and make it better. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited though. I'm looking forward to it. I like Pedro Pascal. So.
Pedro Pascal, so I was going to say, it's got him.
Yeah.
Like I doubt he would say just because his career's kind of boosted even from the Mandalorian. So I don't think he'll say, right, I just want one and done deal.
No, yeah.
I think he'll want to, especially if it's good. Like if it holds up to the first game.
And it is HBO that are working on it, so pretty high budget, a lot of money.
Standards,
aye.
Hopefully it's good.
What's the last bits of news? I reckon the only thing left to say is the Scott Johansson suit is done. She's settled with Disney. What is interesting to me, what is fascinating, there are no numbers here. It has not been said how much she was given to settle for. So I don't know. I mean, what was it she was asking? Was it 50 million? I was like 100 million. I can't remember how many it was. I think it was 50 million. So 50? Whether they've just gave her the 50 million and just been like, there you go, done. Let's not go to court.
But
or whether it's been less than that, or whether she's asked for more than that because she could argue that this has caused stress and stuff. So I don't know how much. I hope. I think the figure will come out eventually, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing how much it was.
Jane, that's now just burnt bridges. Like she's not going to be working with Marvel ever again.
Well, she said, "I'm happy that it's settled. I'm happy that we all kind of walked away happy, and I'm very much looking forward to working with Disney again in the future," was what she said. That's her statement. But apparently there's somebody at Disney, I don't know how high up the person is, if it's an executive, but apparently there's somebody at Disney that's still raging, and it's somebody that's like, this isn't high up. This isn't done. This isn't, even though we've paid her, this isn't over. Like, so I don't know. Somebody Disney quite high up. I don't think they've been named. You can go and research it yourself, but I don't think they've been named. Somebody's still super pissed. She's saying on the surface, I'm happy to work with you again, blah blah blah. Obviously, she wanted her money, but she also wants her career, so she obviously doesn't want to burn the bridge. But I don't know. I think somebody at Disney's still pissed. I don't know. As I say, I don't know who it is. I don't know, because there was a lot of folk that came out and supported her during it, like Kevin Feige and stuff. So it wasn't anybody like that. But even though there was also conflicting rumours that said he was pissed off, there was also...
Was he not pissed off at the studio, though? He was pissed off at Disney?
Yes. Well, I think he was pissed off about the whole situation. I think this is his kind of... The MCU is his baby. So see the fact that her and Disney lawyers were making that look bad. I think he was annoyed that... I think he was annoyed at either or. He was annoyed at the situation. Do you know what I mean? The fact that it just made...
That this happened. This had to happen.
Aye. But then he came out and supported her. So I don't know whether that was true or whether it was PR. You can decide for yourself. But aye. So that's all the news.
We've got one to bring it back to the Bond topic, if you want to.
Yeah, go for it.
It's not worth. Like Henry Cavill wants to join the Bond franchise, which has been like a thing he wants to do since he's probably Superman.
Well, Henry Cavill was, as all young British actors get asked nowadays.
That's the first
he was
question.
asked if he would like to be the next Bond, and he actually said that he doesn't fancy being Bond, but he would like to play a villain. he would like to play a baddie in a Bond movie.
See the bad thing, man. He's fucking huge. Like, imagine like Daniel Craig against him. Well, he was against Batista, so like, I guess so. It kind of still over.
Yes, I would like to see it. I mean, I thought he was good in Mission Impossible as a villain in the last one. So,
I really liked him in the spy movie he done. Oh, I can't remember what it was called.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Aye, the Man from U.N.C.L.E. I thought that he'd done a really good like spy job. Like he could.
Well, I think that's what he said. I think he basically, when he got asked about Bond, I think he said, "Well, I've already kind of done that in the Man from U.N.C.L.E. So if I was to do a Bond movie, I'd rather play a villain." I think that was his reply. Which I'm like, yeah, fair enough. I can, yeah, I'd like that. So on that note, that's the news done. What have you been watching? What have you been reading, playing?
Oh, like, see the sad thing is, I've been wanting to try and get the Star Wars, like kind of the anime series. That's sort of like kind of like 10 minutes each one.
The Visions thing.
The Visions thing. Like I'm trying to get into that. Like I watched the first 5 minutes of it and I was okay because it brought me back to the Netflix TV show, like was it Love something?
Love, Death and Robots.
Love, Death and Robots.
Review the website.
So like that, I definitely got the vibes to it. So I was like, okay. And then I did rewatch that because I didn't watch the second season.
I've not watched the second season yet. Is it good?
Oh, it's brilliant.
I love the first season.
The first. I would say, if you liked the first season, you would like. It doesn't, excel.
Right.
It's not like it's better than the first season, but it's like a nice add-on.
Am I right in saying it's less episodes than the first season?
Yeah, it's less episodes. And some things don't get continued, which you wanted to get continued.
Right,
but
right.
It's, I'm guessing like Tim Miller might do it again.
Right.
So he might do a third season. I don't know.
Cool.
But, yeah. What about yourself?
I look forward to getting into that. I went to see a movie last week called Cop Shop, which was pretty good. It's from Joe Carnahan, who did Smoking Aces and a few other movies. It's quite similar to Smoking Aces.
Is that the one with Gerard Butler?
Yes. Frank Grillo is the guy from whatchamacallit?
He's one of like that Anarchy films.
He was in. I think he has those, but he was in the MCU. He was Crossbones.
Oh, he was Crossbones.
He got his face blown off in Winter Soldier, and then he came back in Civil War and Scarlet Witch. So yeah, he's this big time kind of fixer, and there's a price on his head. People want him dead, so he knows that there's people after him. So he gets himself arrested. He goes up and he punches this cop, and he gets himself put in jail. And then Gerald Butler as a hitman that's trying to kill him. So he also gets himself arrested. He runs over a cop and he ends up in the cell next to him. And he's like, "I'm having you." And he's like, "No, you're not, because you're not here. You've not got any guns." Not that, right?
I'll take you on.
So, that happens. And then that's fine. And Gerald Butler's like, "Mate, you want me to kill you because there's another guy coming for you that is an actual psychopath." And then this other guy turns up that is just insane. He's like Hannibal Lecter with a machine gun, man. He's mental.
Wow. What does he cut him up?
No, but he's just he's really funny and he's just insane. He's kind of like the Joker. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, they're all trying to kill this guy in the prison, and that's basically the movie. I don't want to give too much away, but it's really good.
Worth a see.
Yeah, worth a see. I went to see it. I'm kind of touch and go on Gerald Butler, to be honest, but this one, because it was Joe Carnahan, I thought it would be decent, and it was. It's a solid kind of assassination thriller movie.
Is it like 90 minutes, like quite quick?
It's not. It doesn't drag on too much, and there's a lot happens, a lot of action. Every cop in the station gets involved, and a lot of people get killed, and it's good. It's good stuff. I've also went back and started watching The Sopranos again from the start.
Oh, you said that. You said that.
After watching the prequel, I was like, you know what? Let's go back and get into it. So, yeah, we've made our way through the first season, and it's
already the first season.
Aye.
Fucking hell! It took me a wee while to get through the first season.
Maybe no. I think I've still got 2 episodes to go or something. But I'm nearly at the end of the first season. Wow. Still great. What is incredible about that show is is just how well it ages. Like,
It's no.
it's
You can't
kind of
see
timeless.
it.
Like, even though there's certain things they say that you're like, could you see that nowadays?
Yeah.
It is also gangsters, and that is the way they talk. Do you know
That's
what I
the
mean?
way they
So
talk.
it
That's the way
feels
they talk.
authentic. Like, yeah, some of these guys, they are racist, they are sexist. It's a fact.
That's the way they. That's the
And
way
it
they
does kind of
operate.
make you wonder, like, would HBO be as willing to air this nowadays after kind of Me Too and Black Lives Matter and all the rest
That's
of
a
it?
good point.
But going back to that kind of time period, it does encapsulate it, and it is just such a brilliantly written show. Everybody's phenomenal in it, obviously performance-wise, and it holds up. It's great.
I might jump down that rabbit hole again. But
I'm going to keep going with it, and I've also discovered that the guy that plays Christopher, Michael Imperielli, and the guy that plays Bobby Bacala, Steve Sharippa, the two of them have done a retroactive podcast where they've went back and watched every episode, and then they do a podcast episode telling you about how it was filmed, the plans, just a lot of behind the scenes stuff, like this happened, and like how they get cast in the first place, and how they met David Chase, the writer, and how they worked with each other, and it's really interesting. That's worth listening to. It's called Talking Sopranos.
I've seen
there's an episode of that for every episode of the show, so I've been listening to that along with watching it, and it's been good, man.
That's good.
It's good stuff.
That's good.
Yes, and I'm going to see Bond this afternoon, so if I'm on next week,
lucky you.
Aye. Other than that, as I said, we'll not actually see Venom for a fortnight because it's not out here.
It's not out,
not unless it appears someone else that I'm not going to say. Then I might see it. But yeah, no, at the minute, I don't see seeing it anytime soon.
No.
So, is there anything else? Are we good to wrap up?
No, I think you've covered everything.
Yeah, it was good episode, man. More happened this week than last week, so that was nice. It's nice to have stuff to talk about.
I think like it's kind of like now it's going into the winter, like all the kind of game things of all game conventions all kind of shutting down now. So it's
just that you said that there.
The Dome. Is there no DC?
Well, yeah, there's Fandom. There's Fandom next month, but TGS, the Tokyo Game Show, is happening next week.
Is it?
TGS is happening. I mean, TGS is always. It used to be E3 was a big one, and then Gamescom, and then TGS. And now it's like, I would probably say it's like their own shows, like their own events, and then it's like E3, Gamescom, and TGS. So I think the TGS is even less will be announced than what was normally announced. But it's happening next week. If anything major happens, I'll report on it. We'll probably talk about it on next week's episode. But that TGS is happening, and Fandom's happening next month. But I also think though, in terms of the pandemic, because Touchwood will hopefully start to come out it, more and more stuff will get announced. We'll see more movies get announced. We'll see more TV shows, and things will start up again more on a kind of worldwide basis. So hopefully that means there'll be more to talk about on the podcast as well.
Aye, definitely. Hopefully.
It'll be good, and we'll be good to talk about it.
We might be do an in-person podcast at one point.
Well, that's the thing. Me and you can, because we don't live far. Like, it would be hard to date with Gerard, for example. As much as I'd love to.
Exactly. But that'd be great.
An in-person podcast would be good at some point, because it's as fun as it's been doing it over this. Obviously, there's a few technical things that happen every week, but we'll get there. Anyway, thank you for joining us for episode 30 of the BGCP Disassembled podcast. 30 episodes, that's a lot.
30, that's like is that not an anniversary? Is that not like silver?
Well,
or something?
What will be nuts, I think, is when we get to 50, and then when we get to 52 weeks in a year, right? Yeah, when we get to episode 52, that means we'll be doing it for a full year, so...
Wow,
interesting.
For a full year.
There you go, we're more than halfway there. So thanks for listening. You can check out the other 29 episodes if you want. I'll link below the No Way Home episode, and I'll link all the stuff we spoke about in the description. And if you stuck around for the spoiler section, special thanks. Yeah. You clearly like us more than you like Sony films, which I don't know how high that bar is, but we appreciate it.
It's there.
But all the best. We'll see you next week. I don't know if I'll be on or if I'll be hosting. I don't know if you'll be on, Chris, but somebody will be here.
We'll be here. Somebody will be here.
Aye. So have a good week, folks. All the best.
Used to. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Disassembled. You can find more news and reviews on BigGlasgowComicPage.com. And don't forget, you can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube as BGCP Comic Con. Make sure you also subscribe on your podcast provider of choice for new episodes every week.